Hi everyone, this is Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am creating another 12 by 12 layout in my project tray series featuring the Willemstad kit from Clique International. This project tray series is me taking a brand new kit and breaking it down into, I believe this case is 5 or 6 different projects. That way it's taking pieces of ephemera and papers into smaller bites that make it a little bit more manageable for my overthinking and overactive brain. So this makes it really easier for me to tackle layout, so to speak. For this spread, I specifically love this paper. I fell in love with it the minute that I saw it, and I had kind of a hard time thinking of what to do with it because Paige has already had so much effort put into this paper that I didn't want to take away from it. I wanted to complement it. And it was kind of hard to do that because in the end, this layout becomes extremely busy, but it works, and I think that it ends up complementing it, and I love just how it turned out. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this 12 by 12 piece and I am cutting it into 3 different pieces. I'm taking that center square and cutting it apart from the thinner blue border, and then with this, and then again with this outside scalloped edge. And I will take these and I'm going to adhere them down to a plain piece of white paper because I'm eventually going to pop up that center, the second largest square. I'm eventually going to pop that up on foam and create almost like a frame to frame my photos, my title, and the ephemera. So this piece I'm just gluing straight down to my blank piece of white paper. Then I add in that second piece there, and then I add in the square. So that one that I just laid down will eventually be popped up. This center large square with all of the florals, that's going to be glued down also flat onto the back white piece of paper. I just used that center piece more or less as a guide so that I knew where it needed to be glued down to. And then I'm going to pull that back off and then put my foam down all around this frame. And I do believe I popped this up on a double layer of foam. So I use these single-sided adhesive foam sheets. I get them in a big pack at Walmart. They do work great for things like this because I can cut them to the size that I want to. And they're really inexpensive. My only gripe with them, and it's not even really too much of a gripe, is that it's hard to get them to stick down to regular paper with glue. So what I try to do is either use my ATG tape runner or my double-sided sticky tape in conjunction with glue or just by itself. This time I did use my double-sided adhesive. I think it works the best. It doesn't pull off very easily, but it's hard to glue with it down. So if you use this and you use glue, my best suggestion is either to use that Scotch Quick Dry Tacky Glue or the scrapbook.com Smart Craft Glue does a pretty good job too. But in the end, really, it's this double-sided, but I know we can't always use double-sided tape and we have to use glue sometimes. But in this case, the tape works great. So you can see there, it creates that little bit of a dimension. It creates that frame. And I am going to use this large photo of my son and I from our recent beach trip. I love how bold this photo is. It's very blue, and the blues of our shirts ties in with the frame and the leaves on the background, and I think that it helps tie everything in together. I love the busyness of this page from Paige Evans' collection, but I wanted my photo to not be so busy, and I think that that bold blue helps make it not as busy. There was also another sheet in Paige's collection that had all of these words on it, and that's where these XOXOs came from. I believe the Paige had XOXO, wonderful, a good day, fantastic, wonderful, lovely. I fussy cut all of those off of that page because I knew how I wanted to use them. So that's where the XOXOs came from. Those were fussy cut from that 12 by 12 paper. I also do have the Floral Pack ephemera from this collection, and I'm going to go through and find similar flowers that are on this back paper and pull those out and use them. I do have some of these other types of flowers. I don't end up using a whole lot of them, I don't think. I try to focus on the ones that coordinate with the paper mostly, and then I do believe I pulled in some of the darker blue ones because I love that pops of that darker blue. So here I'm just adding layers behind my photo, and this is a glassine bag that was part of the packaging of this kit, and I used this. It will hold eventually a tag that I use for my journaling. So that's where my journaling for this piece is actually kind of hidden behind my photo, just because there was so much else going on. There was no way that I could have journaling that would have stood out, so I felt that it was just best just to tuck it on a tag behind the photo, and just make it an interactive element. So the rest of this project really is going to be a lot of patience, a lot of patience and a lot of flowers, because I literally go through and pull out and cut and layer with 1, 2, I believe even some are on 3 layers of foam adhesive, because I'm really going for dimension. I'm really going for complementing the frame that I have popped up on dimension, and I want to include a lot more flowers and leaves around it, mainly on that bottom part of the page. But then because my photo was on the left side, I did add that cluster of florals up at the top right, and that was just more or less to help balance the layout out in the end. It doesn't draw too much attention up there, but it does its job, I think, by helping do that balance. So the XOXO, I think I end up using all of them. It would be XOXOXO. I think I put in that last O at the very end. That is what I'm going to use as my title for this. It was large, it was bold, it was pink, I loved it. So that's going to be my title. And then what I'm going to do is layer in all of the florals and the leaves all around that down on the bottom. Some pieces I'm going to cut and tuck under that frame. Other pieces I'm going to pop up on foam adhesive. The leaves I do end up gluing down like I am here to the back page, and then I'll bend them. I actually bend a lot of my florals on this page to help them pop up even more. I think it helps make them look less flat, look more real. It adds even that more dimension, and it creates those shadows that I think help make this. So this is kind of the point in the spread where it really gets cumbersome trying to figure out where I wanted to put what. I do a lot of cutting, but then when I cut, I try to use the other half of those flowers. Then I try to ruffle them up so that it keeps that dimension going. But what I didn't want was to put 2 of the same colored of flowers next to each other. So while I tried to stick with the florals that were on that back pattern paper, like that orange one there, I did have to bring in some of the other ones to break that color apart. And I really love this purple flower right here. I'm not a huge scrapper of purple, which I really need to be, because I love this color of this purple and I love that flower. But this is going to be a lot of fussing with the flowers, gluing some down to that back piece, raising some up on 1 layer foam, raising some up on 2 layers of foam. I do think that 3rd layer comes into play whenever I put it on top of that frame that's already there. And then once I find the spots exactly of where I want these florals to be, that's when I'll start to tuck in the XO title. And when I do, I try to fuss those in so that some are tucked behind the flowers, some are on top of the flowers, to make it look like that it's meant to be that way, I guess, so to speak. Oh, this was this was where I started layering on top of the actual frame itself, and I think that helped tie a lot of this bottom cluster together, where some pieces were on that back, but this helped bring some of it forward to create that cohesiveness. And this this took a lot. The XOXO did take a lot of patience. That probably was the bulk of this spread, was this floral XO cluster. I did feel that it was kind of necessary to leave this in on the video, even though a lot of it is going to be, you know, trimming adhesive, gluing it down and whatnot. But sometimes it's seeing that even though the pictures in the end show what they show, like, a layout can be tricky, a layout can be hard. It can be time consuming. Not everything happens in a warp speed that videos portray. I want to say this whole layout itself took me around an hour and a half to create, and that was already taking into the fact that my XOs were trimmed. So that didn't include that fussy cutting. I had already had this chunk, this background paper and the florals into one of my project trays. So that had already narrowed down what embellishments that I wanted to use. I had already had, you know, the tray that you see at the top right. I had that along with some enamel dots and puffy stickers already pulled out from my stash that worked with this. So it took an hour and a half, even though I already knew what I was going to do. So it's a lot of times things like this are time consuming, but this one definitely in the end for me was 100% worth it, just because, like, once you see the photos at the end, the layers and the shadowing, and once I get that thread in there, because I will layer some thread in behind some of these pieces, it literally just made the whole thing pop, and it tied everything together, and I think it complemented this background paper in the frame so well that I wouldn't have wanted this to go or to happen any other way. So I'm using some circle foam dots, and I'm just doing, I believe, like one on the X's, 2 on the O's, because I want the ends to be able to fold up, and I want to be able to tuck edges behind flowers, but have some others pop on top of others. I even think with that all happening, you can tell what it says. You can tell that this is the main title of all of this layout. I really think that this came together quite well. I am going to go in and add some of the leaves into this. Adding those leaves along with the thread here in a short bit, I think, is what helps tie it all together. So I picked out some of the plain leaves there, the dark and the light green, and then there's also some other kind of spring or sprig leaves that are in there. I'll add those in too. I do bend and fold up the leaves, like you could see. I did the crease kind of in the middle, because in real life that would have been that natural fold as to where that leaf would have been. So I went through and did that. Same thing with that lighter green one at the bottom there, and then this sprig of leaves here up at the top. I glued the bottom down, but I popped the top of it up. I didn't use foam adhesive or anything. I just glue the bottom part of the leaf, and then once it dries, I'll really roll those edges up, and it works just fine. I don't really think that it needed all that much foam adhesive. I really tried to use these bouquets in there. I had hope that it would have worked, but I chose not to. I think the proportion of the size of those flowers versus the proportion of the larger flowers, it just wasn't working with my brain. It wasn't, it didn't look like that it should have been there. It didn't look like that it was meant to be there, so I just didn't use it. I mean, I'm sure it would have been perfectly fine and that I was way overthinking it, but how my brain works. So now I'm going to take these threads. I do have green, yellow, pink, blue, and orange. They are colors that do tie in with the florals in the background of this spread already. So I'm going to take those, jumble up some little clusters, you know, get glue all over my fingers, have everything stick to my fingers again. I feel like this is an ongoing pattern of all of the layouts in this series where I get glue on my fingers and, you know, things start sticking to it randomly, and then some stuff doesn't work and it makes things harder. But yeah, in the end, it gets done, and I'm just picking like different random spots to put this behind. There's no really any rhyme or reason. At first I did try to color block a little bit of it, but then I realized that that wasn't 100% possible just because there was so much color going on in this layout that, well, where I tried to color block it a bit, it always ended up beside something that wasn't that color. So, but it, you know, it in the end, it works great. You see, I'm adding another blue up above on that top right section, and I believe this is going to start to wrap up. I don't know if I do too much more to this. I know I had entertained the idea of adding in some enamel dots, but they ended up really getting lost because of those flowered, the centers of the flowers. You really couldn't tell what was a center of a flower and what was an enamel dot. So I just left them go. I kind of felt like that it didn't do anything justice, so I left it be. Oh, this top left of this. This is where I tried to do a couple things to jazz it up, but then realized that I had left that top open with that glassine baggie to do my journaling. So I have this yellow tag in my stash. This there's another kit in the Clique International shop. I believe it is a color kit. It is solid colored tags like this in a variety of colors, and they are perfect for this type of thing. They're great, and I'm just going to tuck that right behind there, and that is where I'm going to add my journaling, and that is going to be the end of this page. Look how much that dimension adds to that. Oh my gosh, you guys, I just love how this turned out. If you are not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to be notified for all of my projects and for the next one coming up in this series, please be sure to hit that bell to be notified. And thanks so much for stopping by. Please leave a comment down below. Hop over to Instagram to see some more even close-ups and to follow me there. My Instagram handle is @Colby's1981. And until next time, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.